effects of climate change are severe. South Africans, corporations and SMEs bear the brunt of heat waves, drought, heavy rains resulting in flooding and unpredictability of the weather. Today, we're joined by Sol Abram, who is the Retail Chief Executive of OM Insure. He's going to tell us more about how Old Mutual mitigates the risks of climate change. Sol, how lovely to meet you, and thank you for making time for us today.
You too, Becca.
So let's start with explaining what exactly is OM Insure.
Yeah, Old Mutual Insure is South Africa's oldest short-term insurer. We've been in existence for more than 190 years.
What?
Yeah, and we provide products in personal lines, commercial lines, agri, marine, engineering and corporate property. So quite a vast portfolio of products.
We know that climate change is becoming a significant risk for consumers and insurers like yourselves, and you obviously agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely we do. We've seen over the last 40 years a six-fold increase in climate-related catastrophe claims, which obviously means that the economic loss from these events are increasing, which ultimately impacts insurance companies and consumers and businesses out there.
What then is Old Mutual doing to mitigate the effects of climate change and the risks associated with climate change?
Yeah, so we're spending a lot of time and effort in understanding the data. So we're partnering with some big data companies to understand what they can do to help us understand the risks that the policies we insure pose us in this new world of climate change.
Then how has climate change actually affected businesses in South Africa, Sol?
So business and consumers are impacted similarly in South Africa. Climate change events, catastrophic events cause destruction to roads, bridges, just basic services like water and sewage, obviously destruction to buildings. And ultimately it means that either consumers can't get to the businesses or the businesses are not insured and they can't recover from the event, ultimately leading to economic loss.
And how has climate change itself impacted the insurance industry and consumers at large?
Yeah. Over the last 5 to 10 years, I think the insurance industry has really gone through a tough time because the impact of climate change has been increasing every year. We go back to 2017 with the Knysna fires and 2022 with the KZN floods. Those were two of the biggest insurance losses in South Africa, ultimately to insurance companies having to charge higher insurance premiums to cover the risk of climate change increasing. And sadly, that means that consumers have to pay a higher insurance premium. And in tough economic conditions like this, it's not easy.
What do you think we, as ordinary consumers and businesses themselves, can actually do proactively?
Step one is to talk to your advisors, your brokers, and your financial advisors to make sure that your insurance coverage is in place. I mean, step two for me is maintenance. Make sure that the assets you own are well maintained, your house, your commercial building that you run your business out of, just the basics of making sure maintenance is in place. That ultimately leads to less insurance claims, which makes your insurance premiums more sustainable. And ultimately means that your insurer, your relationship and your partnership with the insurer is also sustainable.
And what do you think insurers themselves should be doing now to respond to climate change?
Part one for us is to make sure we work with the big stakeholders in the industry to make the short-term insurance industry sustainable. Now, sustainable for me means that one, we've got to offer products that are relevant to the consumer.
Absolutely.
Step two is to make sure that the insurance companies that are in South Africa remain solvent and are there for their consumers for the long term. The KZN floods were probably cost more than 5 billion rand to the insurance industry. We need our balance sheets to be agile in responding to climate change. So I would say those are the things that insurers need to do to remain sustainable.
Sol, thank you so much for the advice.
Pleasure.
Thank you for the insight, and it's great to know what is actually happening out there. Barack Obama once said, "We are the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it." It is clearly evident that Old Mutual takes such matters seriously and are committed to improving the lives of South Africans. They are determined to create the kind of change that has a positive, sustainable impact across South Africa. Old Mutual urges South Africans to do great things every day.